Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our annual town hall meeting for 2021. And I'd like to begin by introducing our guests. First is, let's see, we've got, if you could change the slides for me. Our guests are representatives from the state and local districts include, we've just changed the order here, so I'm going to have to wait until they appear so I don't get that. Okay. Well, the birds, the eagle, of course. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. There we go. My operator error. Okay. Okay. Sorry about that. I was so used to looking at those pretty pictures. Everybody knows Rick Jasper is our state congressman and represents the District 11. Also, I believe, is Carter Jackson representing Andrew Clyde, who is our U.S. House representative from District 9, and followed by Chris Stansel, our Pickens County Commissioner. And last but not least, Sharon Fawcett, our District 1 Commissioner from Dawson County. And we had invites to other folks as well, but they were unable to attend. So just wanted you to know that we did send invitations out to everyone. Okay. The election results for 2022, we had two openings for three-year terms. And I'm proud to announce that our elected directors for 2022 include Tim Moran. If Tim will stand up. Thank you. And Elton Goglin. Okay. Thank you. Let's see. Also, Amy Troppenbaum is going to introduce the results of the bylaw changes. Amy's going to introduce the bylaw changes that were proposed that did not pass. Well, did we miss that? Yeah. You want to say something about that? Yeah. Well, I didn't. Okay, he's okay.
Yeah, we blew through one slide.
I'm sorry, we didn't have Mike Ziegler's picture up here, but we did want to announce that Mike Ziegler will be the new developer director for the 7th position on the board. And as you know, Big Canoe Company was just sold, and Mike Ziegler and some folks that I know in the community are can't hear. Okay. Mike Ziegler is the new developer director, and he will be the 7th member of our board going forward. We've been operating for some months with just 5 directors, so we're very glad to see that we have a full board again. So.
Well, disappointed but not surprised. None of our bylaws changes passed. Similar to surveys, censuses, covenant votes, bylaw votes, election of directors votes, we got a quorum of 51%, and we needed 2/3. So sadly, none of these passed. It was a worthy goal, and we thought by piggybacking on the elected director election that we'd be able to gin up enough interest to get this vote out, but that was not to be. Interestingly, 2/3 of all lot owners did not vote. More interestingly, 47% of all homes did not vote. Not much you can do about that. It's an uphill battle. One last time, I want to thank the GovDoc committee for all their hard work and deliberation. And I'll run through these very quickly. The percentages that you see on the right, those are percentages of the entire voter population. That is not the percentage of those who voted. And we did it this way so you could see how close or how far away from 2/3 achieving the necessary quorum and yes vote. So the first one still perplexes me. I don't know why anyone would vote against the option of voting electronically, and actually very few did. However, we've got to live by this result, and it will sadly continue to cost us money unnecessarily until we ever do get to change it, and I'm sure those costs will rise over time as well, but we had to give it a shot. We may try again. Similar to electronic voting, there was significant support for spouses not on the deed to be able to run and serve on the board, but again, not 2/3. The quirky 3-tiered quorum remains. It doesn't really impact us getting business done. It just creates a lot of unnecessary paperwork and confusion, and we're concerned sometimes people just throw up their hands and don't vote at all, but so be it. The high bar of changing future bylaws, not amendments to our covenants, but bylaws that the board can't do on our own, remains in place. Maybe we'll try again at some point, but just note, covenant changes have a much lower bar than bylaws changes. But we can't just change the covenants, we still have to change the bylaws to fix the things that the bylaws govern. We'll continue to run with the current situation of needing 2 elected director vacancies before we can appoint a position. We hope we'll get a run of good luck. We haven't had it the last 3 years. We've lost a director mid-year, every year the last 3 years. So I'm just announcing today that all of our travel privileges have been revoked for next year. Except me, I've got a trip. But anyway, we'll carry on. We'll carry on. The next one, part-time POA employees. This was the only one that I thought was even somewhat controversial. Others apparently saw it that way, so we'll be missing out on some very good candidates that could have stepped up to run, so we need the rest of you all to think about stepping up and running in the future. The next one, a no-brainer. This would have made the requirements to remain on the board the same as those to run for the board. Again, significant support, just not 2/3. And the last one is a moot point because it was just to restate the bylaws into one document for anything that passed. So I do want to thank you all that voted, and maybe we'll be back. Okay.
Okay, now I think I'm in control of the clicker here. So we'd like to give a Board of Directors report to begin with a brief overview. I'd like to remind everyone that the board's role in the community is that we're responsible for policy and oversight, and to ensure that we have the best interests of the community in mind in making decisions and following through with our commitments. We recommend that you occasionally take a look at the minutes that we post on the website for both our monthly board meetings and our bi-weekly work sessions. I think it will provide you with a great overview of our responsibilities and the activities that we undertake to make sure that we have the best interest of the community in mind. So for 2021, we conducted an annual property owner satisfaction survey. We conducted a triennial census, and we went through a strategic planning process led by Rich McLeod, which included Regis Valinsky and Scott Auer. And I think where we ended up with, as Rich McLeod indicated in the November 18th board meeting, is a great roadmap. Accountability, everybody has accountability for their goals and measurements. So we look forward to implementing it in first quarter, and not but least the board will be very much involved in their accountability and goals as well. We've also, other accomplishments is that we have, missed one here, is that we've looked at solidifying relationships with Dawson and Picken counties. Amy Truppenbaum and Bob Littell, respectively, attend Dawson and Pickens and Dawson County meetings, and they have report back each month. Actually, Pickens and Dawson both meet twice a month, so it's a very active counties, but also active for our representing those and going to the meetings on a regular basis. One item I didn't mention is Bobby Jones Links. We changed the contract mid-year and reduced it by 50%. Going forward through the end of the year, which is coming up here very quickly, they helped us with food and beverage staffing and some needed work that we couldn't do during COVID, and then also selecting our new amenities manager. And then the CFO, Bobby Jones Links, was also very instrumental in helping us with the budget process this year, and then cash flow modeling, really for not just this year coming up, but through 2029, and determining, looking at our various capital projects, funding and cash flow sources for those. So they both they've played an integral part for us through the end of this year. Okay, next is the General Manager's report from Scott Auer.
Thank you, Candace. Can you hear me okay? Yeah, great. Good morning, everybody. A year ago, this place was empty. This is way more fun. This is great. So nice to see everybody here. And that's our beautiful covered bridge, right? There's going to be, I think, a new T-shirt, something like, "You had me at the bridge," because for most of us, that's true. Yeah. My car is not red, mine is blue. We couldn't fix that, but they had me at the bridge, there was no doubt. So you never start a presentation with an advertisement. I'm going to start a presentation with an advertisement because we've got so many great things going on. So today's presentation is brought to you by the POA, and these are all the things that are happening in the next couple weeks. So if you didn't score a ticket to the Winter Ball, too late, so sad. It's sold out. If you did, I'll see you tonight. If you have a Diana Krall ticket or a, let's see, what else would work for me? Some other, I think Alison Krauss is also going to tour with Robert Plant next. We can do a trade if you want to see me afterwards. We can do something. Christmas drive-thru. If you didn't score a ticket, we're really excited. We did this last year because of COVID because we couldn't do much else. But the drive-thru is back. It's not going to rain 3 inches tonight, thank goodness. So the elves will not get wet this year. And it's really fun. And they did an even nicer job. So come tonight for that. Tour of trees. Terry needed a little help with the decorating, and a lot of clubs stepped forward. And so everybody got to sponsor a tree. So starting December 6th, come through the clubhouse and take a look at all the gorgeous trees. Dahlonega Day Trip, our favorite little small town, especially at Christmas, is coming up next weekend. Light Up the Lake is always incredible what people do with their boats. So get a safe place by the marina or on the dam. That's coming up on the 11th. And Brunch with Santa is back, which is so awesome. And if you go to brunch the 19th, Santa still has 6 more days to change any of his deliveries, unless he's using Amazon, in which case that's a whole different discussion. All right, Polar Express. Yes, Scott does have a Polar Express in my basement. It is true. That is my favorite movie, so that is also happening. And then what's really fun, next year is so special, right? It's our 50th anniversary. Susan Wilson and Ellen Sheridan and their whole team has been working, I don't know, probably 8 months on this activity to lay out everything. 10, all right, a year maybe. Time flies in this job, it really does. So anyway, the New Year's Eve will be the kickoff of our galas for all next year. It's going to be a really fun year. So that was it. That was like the fun stuff. So I do want to talk about finance, which is also really good news for this year. Not quite as exciting. The slides aren't quite as pretty, but I won't take too long on this. So basically, for this year, we will come in with general operating revenue of about $9.3 million. That is $78,000 to the good versus budget. Operating expenses are expenses of $5.7. On $5.7 million, we came in within $17,000 of what the original budget was. Our guys do, yeah. Thank you. Our staff is amazing. They are, if anything, ultra conservative people about spending money. It's usually Scott saying, no, we got to fix that. We got to spend the capital on that. So they do a great job of watching their dollars and cents. Amenity income, this is just amazing. So the amenities actually have a net income of positive $654,000. That is a variance of $536,000 to the good. It's amazing. And again, what's more amazing is a year ago we weren't here, and actually the amenities year started when we didn't even have vaccines. So they made so much wonderful progress this year. The amenities team is just hats off, just an amazing group of people. Depreciation is always going to vary as we do more projects. It goes up, obviously. So up and down a little bit, but that's not a cash expense anyway. So net income from operations is 1.9 million positive, 545 to the good. By the way, this is through end of October. We had a very strong November too as far as amenities. I haven't seen the full financials yet, but we'll hopefully end the year even stronger than that. So that's great. It gives us a nice chunk of cash that we weren't planning on, honestly, to be that much positive on the budget that we can roll into some of the things that we'll talk about soon here in about 15 minutes for next year. Just to so you can see the amenities story. Clubhouse, yes, it's true. There are no brackets around that first number. We are positive $56,000, $480, which is awesome. But I would also say we didn't do everything we wanted to. So it's great to see those good financial results, but we have extensive plans for next year about being open more activities, more entertainment, things like that. It's great to hit some of those numbers, but we're still not delivering where we want to be delivering at the clubhouse. So we're just kind of getting started on that one. So golf had a fabulous year, even down to 18 holes, which is amazing. 161,000 positive on golf. Wellness center basically on plan, same with racket club. Swim, we don't like to talk about swim. We kind of missed the lake for most of the summer. That not only cost us an awful lot of money to fix a very old pipe, but also cost us $71,000 because nobody could use the amenity. So it'll be much more fun next summer, I promise. Marina, those guys continue to deliver. It's everybody's sort of favorite fun thing to do now in Big Canoe. And amenity management with renegotiating the Bobby Jones contract, we saved some money there. So a huge amount of that variance that we had on the other slide is due to the wonderful performance of the amenities, guys. Food and beverage, again, just a little more detail because we all watch food and beverage really closely. Working from the bottom, we are positive 56,480. Cost on every sales dollar, we actually make 3 cents on every dollar we sell. That wasn't the plan. It was to actually lose 17 cents on every dollar. So we're happy with how that came out. Operating costs and cost of sales are where they should be. Labor is ridiculously low. So that's where, that attributed for a lot of the gain, but at the same time, we couldn't do the things we wanted to do. So we have a food truck that's been sitting out at Wildcat since we parked it there in April, and we could never open it. It wasn't like we wanted to park it out there. It was supposed to be used out there, and we just could never do it. So we're still, obviously, like every restaurant in America, running short on labor, and that team has done so much to continue to deliver what they're doing. So please thank them over Christmas. Be really nice. They've done amazing. Shutting down for COVID, going for multiple COVID tests, finding a way to keep the pub open when nobody else could actually, there weren't enough other people left to serve. They kept trying all the time to do the best they could. So food and beverage is to be commended. And just a real brief overview, sales. We had 384 closings this year. 289 of those were homes. And again, this is through October, so we have two more months. 95 lots. Lot numbers are coming up pretty nicely. Year-to-date prices for home sales are close to $482,000. You can get a little lost in the numbers, but it's kind of the trend sort of says it all. You can see what's happening. Big Canoe's a nice place to move to. And just on the debt side, we typically pay down about $1 million a year on our debt. So the property purchase and refinancing of the clubhouse debt and refinancing several years ago on the amenities improvement, which involved the fitness center and things of that nature, we paid down another $1 million. So we're sitting here with only $4.9 million of debt. We have banks calling us all the time that would love to loan Big Canoe money because they have money and we have a great debt to equity ratio. So we're in a very, very strong financial position. Speaking of which, we have on 10/31, $3.4 million of operating cash. That's up from where we were at the end of the year. Master plan fund down significantly. You would expect that. We spent $2.3 million on Creek 9, and we delivered Creek 9 on time and under the amount that everybody voted for. So excellent, excellent project. And it's beautiful, and it's stunning, and people are out there trying to play on it already, which is a whole different problem, but it'll be really, really great next year. Capital replacement fund, obviously we've been spending a lot. We'll talk about that in a minute, of all the different projects that we ran this year. We do have a 50-year-old infrastructure. There's a lot of things that need to be fixed, and we are getting after that with a vengeance. Restricted capital, that is the one account, that's what we tend to think of as the emergency fund. That has never been touched. We didn't touch it this year. We hopefully won't touch it in any type of immediate future. And that means total cash is at $7.1 million. So if you add up all of our checking accounts, it ends up at 7.123, down from 8.5. That's really amazing given that we spent $1 million fixing the dam at Disharin that was not planned for. So that really would have been 8,123, but we were in really good shape to be able to flex with a really big problem that happened last summer. And what I'd like to do now is just kind of show you where some of that money went. A year ago, we did a lot of exterior things on buildings, rotted trim, roofs, things like that. This year, we did quite a few other things. Take a look. Creek 9, that was Armageddon, actually. That's what Creek 9 looked like in April. Kind of alien thing happening on the green there. But look at it now. It's just stunning. Delivered on time again, under the $2.33 million. Indoor tennis courts, that was a place no realtor took anybody to because it was terrible. That's what it looks like now. It's beautiful. Also fixed the area upstairs. Claytech, we had 2 tennis courts in the middle of our tennis facility we couldn't use. They've been, all the old Claytech's gone, they're all beautiful clay courts now. That's been fixed. Bocce, we all know the bocce story, but it turned into a really first-class amenity, nice and level, fun to play on. I don't know what Scott's doing with those scissors. 158 members and growing, so bocce's pretty neat. And of course, we didn't want to take away basketball without bringing this back. So we have a brand new sports court, which is just first class. It's so exciting. The marina guys, we changed the docks. We can raise and lower them. There's more space now, no more accidents at the marina. Package porch, that has been an interesting journey. That was what it looked like before. That was the grand opening. And this is what it looks like today. We're running over 400 packages a day going into the package porch. Brand new fire engine being constructed. That one's kind of under the radar a little bit, but first time in 50 years that Big Canoe has built a fire engine brand new to the specs of our roads and what we need. And then this is our front door. Our front door didn't look too good about a year ago. Thanks to Matthew and the guys, it's stunning. We also expanded the RV storage yard. That is a black tank area for those of you who like RVs. And this was Scott's worst day. It was not good. And that's what it looks like now. And it's really set for the next 50 years. We did it right. It's fixed. It's not patched. And it will last for a long, long time to come. So that's where a chunk of our cash went this year. And we've got a whole bunch of more things that we're going to be doing next year, which is what I want to talk about next. Yeah. Thank you. So, Candace mentioned we did this very, very big project this year. We said Big Canoe has something kind of like a strategic plan. It's a one-pager. It's on the website. It's kind of old. It's been there. It was never drilled down into, first of all, it needed to be refreshed, but it was never drilled down into what does that mean to the guy who's working in the maintenance facility. What does the strategic plan mean to him? So we set out to fix that. So we formed a big team. You've heard about that. We talked about it in July. And we looked at the mission statement, we looked at the vision statement, and we came up with strategic objectives. Regis and I were part of that team. Rich McLeod deserves tremendous, tremendous thanks. I don't know if Rich is here today, but Rich, amazing. It's hard enough to herd Scott and Regis, but when you add like all of these different team members, and they were very, very cross-functional, very diverse folks, because we did that on purpose, Rich did an amazing job of keeping people focused. So, brand new mission and vision statement that the board approved a few weeks ago. First thing is, why are we here? What is our mission? Our mission is to provide a residential community with a high quality of life in harmony with nature. That's why we all moved here. What do we want to be? Where do we go from here? We want to make sure that we are safe and secure. That comes up pretty high on the survey, why people moved here and what keeps them here. Safe and secure, residential community. That's a really important word, and we spend a lot of time on that word. Providing the harmonious integration of the natural beauty of the mountains. You don't get this. You don't get this many places. You really don't. With a high quality of amenities along with well-maintained and updated infrastructure. Sounds like a place I'd kind of want to live. Sounds like a place I'd want to invest in if I was an investor or a developer. So what we then said is drill it down. Next step down. Engineer in me loves this stuff. Drill it down, go down. So high-level strategic objectives. What are the things that we then need to focus on to make that real? Number one, our assets. Our assets, we must have continuous improvement. Again, we're 50 years old, lots of corrugated metal pipe in all kinds of places. We took all that out of Creek Golf Course. We took it out of Lake Disharoon. It's lots of other places too. We got to get after it. So continuous improvement of all amenities and infrastructure while preserving the natural environment. Start putting in a bunch of parking lots or ripping up things and destroying this view, we just shot ourselves in the foot. So you got to do both of those two things together. Safety and security, number one, that's why you do 24/7 gates. That's why you add people to public safety to do patrols. You'll see something else we're going to do here in a minute. So safety and security of everybody, not just property owners, but everybody who comes in through the gates, employees, guests, property owners. Everybody's got to feel safe. You've got to feel safe when you're an employee and you come to work that somebody's got your back and you're not going to be harassed or anything of that nature. It's very important. Our governance, make sure with the board, with Scott, we make decisions that are transparent, that are ethical, and fiscally responsible. And we spend a tremendous amount of time trying to do that. Our employees, create a culture. Without the employees, we're nothing. We always say, like, I could go away for, probably a 3-month vacation somewhere. You might not know I was gone. Anybody goes away in the clubhouse, you know that first day that they're gone. So, the employees make the place work. So the employees have to have a culture that allows us to attract and retain engaged and motivated people. Otherwise, again, it's not so good here. Our property owner experience, really, really key. I said, good news on the clubhouse, terrific, right? Is the property owner experience where we want it to be? No, it's not. So enhance every aspect of the property owner and guest experience. And remember, guests are my son, guests is my aunt, guests is my friends I have up, guests are renters if I choose to rent a property for a little bit. They're all guests and they deserve to have a good experience as well, but property owners deserve to have an excellent experience. So, What we're going to do next is spend many times going department by department, amenity by amenity, looking at gap analysis. Where are we good? Where do we have gaps? SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, threats, opportunities, and then we're going to build a work plan for every single one of those groups under me and for the board, so that we can say, what are the tasks we're going to do in 2022? Who's going to do them? Who's accountable? When's it going to be done by? And if you roll all that up, all those wonderful things I just talked about should happen. So we'll start using that in board meetings. We'll start using it in town hall meetings. You'll see a lot more of that next summer when we're back together in here. But right now, I was building a budget at the same time all of that was happening. So I kind of knew where the strategic planning team was going. So as I built the budget with our team, we tried to focus on those same 5 things. So I'm going to tell you now all the things that are in the budget and how they fit. So our assets, if you remember, that was the first one. Our assets is continuously improve our infrastructure and our amenities. So that means we focus on roads, and not just paving of roads and reflectors and striping, but roads is shoulder to shoulder. So trees need to be removed if they're falling over the road. Things need to be mowed, ditches need to be cleaned, culverts need to be maintained. That's what a road is here. So some of that stuff has never gotten done. It hasn't gotten done in 10 years. So we're going to get it done in 2022. So road shoulder mowing is really key. Ditch cleaning is built into the budget. And when I say these things, that means there's people, there's capital, there's payroll dollars. I can look at my budget and I can tie each of those things up here that's a bullet to something or someone or some dollar or some piece of equipment that's now in the budget. So professional cleaning at wellness, our ceilings at wellness are really high. Our ceilings in the veranda are really, really high. They weren't really clean. That's not good. So basically, we're now building quarterly professional cleaning where they bring in lifts and all that kind of stuff. Make sure it looks like Big Canoe should look. Monthly window cleaning, again, at like Clubhouse, Canoe Lodge, Beach Club. We have a lot of wildlife here. It tends to aim for the windows, I think, sometimes. So make sure that we keep that nice and clean. Sign maintenance, some of our signs are like that, whatever. So our sign maintenance, make sure that those are updated and not rotting and things of that nature. My favorite, bridges, dams, which we have a gentleman from Geosyntec that you're going to meet in a few minutes. And Wes will give you an update on where we are with that very big piece of earth right behind me called Lake Pettit Dam. And strategic parking improvements. When I walk into the post office and I get out of the car and I see pavement that's going like this and 6x6 timbers that are rotting and all kinds of stuff, it's not Big Canoe. That's not who we are. That doesn't match the roundabout that we did out there. So strategic parking improvements are things we need to focus on. Ecology. So back when Big Canoe was formed, there was a wonderful man named Dr. Platt who worked hand in hand with Tom Cousins to make sure that we didn't mess things up. We haven't had that for a while, so thanks to, honestly, the kind of remnants of the Conservation Committee, they pointed me in the right direction and said, we got to go hire an expert. We have some great people here, but we really need a Dr. Platt. So we went and found the former head of Georgia Forest Watch, Jess Riddle. We've now got a contract with him, and he is working with our landscape team, Lydell's team, the maintenance team, and he's looking at how do we maintain and improve our watersheds, our control erosion better, manage our forest better, what do we do about wildlife. He's already gone, his first assignment 2 weeks ago was looking at the Disharins silt situation. Where's all the silt coming from? Guess what? A lot of it's coming from the Jeep Trail. And when you look at the Jeep Trail, which I've been on the Jeep Trail, but I'm not an ecologist, he looks at it and he's like, well, the drainage things for the Jeep Trail are at this elevation, and the road is now down at this elevation because over 50 years it's eroded. So now when the rain comes down the Jeep Trail, the water doesn't go where it's supposed to go because the drainage is 5 feet higher than the road. Nobody's paid attention to that. So now we have to think about, what does that mean? Do we have to restore the Jeep Trail? What's that going to cost? But you can't just ignore this stuff, because otherwise you end up with a lot of silt sitting in Disharin, and everybody says, when I came here, Disharin used to be like way back there. Well, that's why it's not back there anymore. So he's going to find a lot of stuff that we as a team are going to have to work on, like how much do we bite off and how fast. But it's good. This is what we got to get after. And this is part of the strategic plan in action. Establish a grounds department. We promoted Lydell, one of my favorite people at Big Canoe, who just does a beautiful, beautiful job, has done great things with Creek 9, great things with our golf course. He now has a much broader job in operations. And also, Hemlock time again, $50,000, but it keeps us preserving something that we cherish here, which is we're one of the biggest stands of hemlock east of the Mississippi, and we wouldn't be if we weren't out there treating the woody adelgid like every 5 years. So. Capital replacement. Normally, we spend about $3 million a year in capital, an amount equal to our depreciation. Next year, drum roll please, $6.75 million of capital projects that we need to get after. That starts with, I'll give you the big ones, $1.55 million on that big thing right behind me, Lake Pettit Dam, and again, Wes will talk about that in a few minutes. Road paving, we're getting it really under control. So after, year after year after year, we're down to just very few areas that are rated as poor. We'll get after equestrian, and we have to catch up on Quail Cove next year. So that's $800,000 of paving. Beach Club, when we had all the water out of Disharin, we really got to see what that walkway, which is kind of where the canoes launch from, between the beach and the dam, that whole thing is ancient. It's just rotted. It's rotted timber. It's been carpeted. It's bowing. If we don't fix this, we're going to have to close it this year, and the kids are going to have to walk through the parking lot to get down to the rock slide. So that is a very big project that needs to be dealt with. It's way past its useful life. Sconti Disharin Lake silt removal. We have a $500,000 expense we got to deal with. We got to get all that silt back out of Sconti where it came down from Disharin Valley. So we're working on that plan to try to get after that early in the spring, get it done before we get close to the opening of the beach club. Road shoulder refurbishment. That one's kind of interesting. If you're driving from the main, the covered bridge out to the main gate, you probably have seen there's some really big cracks starting to show up in some of that roadway. That's not a paving problem. That's a road shoulder problem, which means the road shoulder is starting to do this. It's starting to slide a little bit towards that ravine. That roadway was cut out by a mule team, honestly, in like 1905. So and somebody just paved it. Developer paved over. It's good. Worked for a while, worked for a long while. Now we've got to say, well, do we move the road a little to the left? Do we shore up that bank? We've got about 4 spots we've got to get after pretty quickly. And that's what that $300,000 is for. Creek covered bridge, so that beautiful bridge that we love with the wreaths on it and things like that. We've been told don't put anything heavier than a golf cart crossing that bridge right now, because underneath, again, it all looks pretty from the outside, but underneath, there's a problem with the infrastructure. It's old. It needs to be replaced. We're going to replace it before we open Creek 9, God willing. Culvert replacement, same little problem as Lake Disharin and Creek 9, a lot of corrugated metal pipe. Corrugated metal pipe should last about 25 years. Most of our corrugated metal pipe has lasted 40 years. So we have corrugated metal pipe running underneath some places like parking lots and things like that. We're going to have to start a systematic plan, just like we have for the roads. We got to do the same thing for our culverts. And a new Saxena, our director of engineering, is driving those projects. And timber wall replacements. Again, you can look around. We started with Buckskull. Buckskull had a ton of timber walls that people were like, I don't know, is that on Buckskull property? Is that on POA property? We don't really know. And I'm like, it's just falling down. Let's just fix it. So we fixed it. And there's stuff around here that you can see. There's stuff over at the Beach Club that you can see, old timber walls. And so do we just replace it with timber? Do we replace it with concrete and stone? We're looking at each of those things, but we've built $190,000 in the budget to take care of it. So those are our big capital projects. And then you get into stuff like replacing a truck or a car or something like that. But that's where a big chunk of our cash is going next year. Safety and security, that was number 2 on our list. So assets was number 1, safety and security was number 2. We have in the budget now the full year of adding the extra staffing for public safety. You can see every month now I show you what the citations are looking like. The fact that we have that extra officer in place is starting to really pay dividends. They're able to respond faster to complaints. They're able to be more proactive in going out and looking for, trouble, basically. So you got a full year of that. This year we only had a half year. Same thing with the North Gate. We're back to 24/7 staffing. Last year we started halfway through the year. This year we have the full year of it. And Trina, our favorite person up there, who is, when you get to know Trina, it's really funny. She'd shoot me for saying that. She's really not that mean. She really isn't. But anyway, and incredibly dedicated. Incredibly dedicated to maintaining the character of Big Canoe. She needs help, especially we have a new developer coming. We're going to be doing a lot more things than we've done for a long time. Got a lot more renovations going on. So we're going to have Trina focus on the developer side, the building side, and we need somebody else to focus on compliance. That's what Big Canoe used to have years ago. When things kind of slowed way down in 2008, it went down to a department of 1. We need to take it back to a department of 2. So that, again, ties back to our strategic plan of safety and security. Our governance, coming out of Leadership Big Canoe project where I met Candace and Regis long ago and far away, we said the website's terrible. There's no search function. You can't find anything on it. Tim Moran's the only one who knows where anything is. It's true, which is good. That's good that there's someone who knows that, and someone who's staying, and someone who's going to be in an important role. But y'all need to be able to find stuff, totally. So we're redoing the whole website. It's going to look a lot more like Sea Pines, which is good, kind of an old sister community of Big Canoe. So we'll have a full search function. It will actually have a calendar that works. So you'll be able to go in and see like where are all these great events, what can I sign up for, how do I make a reservation, all of those things. It'll just be laid out so much better. So Mark and Catherine Dye, the whole team is working with an outside company to rebuild that whole website. So that's already in process, should be done sometime in first quarter. And also, we've changed our whole emails. We used to send out a bunch of stuff, and people didn't know what they were looking at and things like that. So we've created Inside the Gates, inside your inbox. Every Thursday, we send out a newsletter, basically, an e-newsletter. It's got everything in it that you want to know. And we save the other emails for important things like a public service announcement, a road closure, a safety concern, something like that. So we've kind of consolidated our communications. We'll keep doing more to be more transparent and to let you guys know more what's going on. Our employees, again, it doesn't happen without those guys. It just doesn't. The men and women who make this place work every single day. I've been here a year and a half now. I'm continually amazed every day about the passion that people have about this community. So, you just have no idea how hard they work to make all this just magically happen and make it all look beautiful, but somebody does that work. So 3% merit increase is built into the budget. We also established with the board's support a payroll reserve for the first time. Things are going nuts in the world. You can go to McDonald's and get a $15 an hour job with a $500 bonus. We were paying our gate people $12 an hour at the beginning of the year. So strategically looking at key positions that we need to be able to hire for and make sure we're at the right salary level to compete in the market. Because face it, we're competing in the market for very, very few people who are looking for jobs. Also, we restructured the company, basically. The POA got restructured a bit. so that we could actually save money on healthcare costs. We saved 2%, moved everything over to Cigna. We were facing a 25 to 30% increase. Instead, we got a 2% decrease. So that helped me hugely in the budget, create a bunch of cash that I could put into all those other things like culverts that need to be done. That idea, by the way, that did come from Bobby Jones. So when people say sometimes like, oh, you know, I didn't see what they really did or whatever, a lot of stuff behind the scenes like that that helped me and the board get some things done that freed up some money. 2%, we also were able to pass some of that savings on to the employees. So they got a great health plan with Cigna, but also got some decrease as well. Property owner experience. This is my favorite section, honestly. So the rest of it's really important, but this is my favorite. So we are bringing back a concierge position for the POA administration building. So that means you will actually be able to walk over to the administration building and somebody, A, will let you in, B, maybe answer the phone, C, tell you where you can go in a polite way to basically say, here's how you get this done, here's how you get this done, here's how you get this done, and just help out. Because right now we've had an administration building where people don't even know how to get in it. They're knocking on windows, and it's just kind of a little weird. So anyhow, a concierge comes back. We're a city. When I walked up to the main desk in Swanee, there was always somebody there to help say, how do I get that? How do I get a business license? Whatever. So same thing in Pickens. It happens every day. So basically, concierge comes back. Full-time activities planner. We have so many great ideas, and working with the Bear Society hand in hand, we will go back to where we used to be before COVID. We'll have a full-time activities planner who will be animating the whole campus. So they'll be responsible for all the fun stuff, whether it's wine tastings, bourbon tastings, bands on the veranda, all of those things, but also, of course, the Oktoberfest, the 4th of July, the day trips, the educational meetings again. I mean, bring everything back and I kind of think of it like a cruise ship. When you come on the cruise ship, you basically look at the calendar and you say, I want to do that, I want to do that, I want to do that. We got to get back to that. So that's what that person is going to do. The membership director, which is really Terry Sawyer right now, is doing those two jobs. The membership director goes back to being a full-time job. Terry will be taking that job. And basically, there's increase in membership numbers and things built into the budget because she'll be able to focus on it. Right now, whenever she does a great job meeting people, selling memberships and things, but as soon as Oktoberfest comes, for 5 weeks, Terry is like consumed with Oktoberfest. So there's too much for one person. Property owner activity revenue is tripled in the budget versus what we had in 2021. So, when I sit here and say, yeah, we're going to do all this stuff, we put our money where our mouth is. We tripled the revenue that got approved in the budget. So we got to do this stuff. And then we took a look, honestly, at all non-property owner fees in the budget, and wherever we could, they went up. Property owners have to have precedence, so we did that. Food and beverage, some big changes. So we want to go back to opening 6 days a week with expanded hours March through November. People hate this word, but we're not really a restaurant. We're much more of a club. We're much more of a clubhouse. So if you're at home restaurant, you look at your covers and you say, I only got 4 people coming in every Sunday afternoon. I'm going to close home restaurant. It's fine. If you're home, we just adjust to that. We just say, okay, we can't go to home on that afternoon. If you're the clubhouse, we're not happy when that happens because we played golf. We got my wife with me. We want to go have a burger or something. We want to be able to use our clubhouse. So we have to function a little differently than a restaurant would. That means expanded hours. That means you do lose a little bit more money, but you got to be available. So more availability. We want to bring back the Beach Club snack bar. The food truck that's been sitting out at Wildcat that I talked about, we want to have the door open so things are actually coming out of there, like fun frozen drinks and stuff like that. No non-property owner weddings. Big change. Big change in our budget, but we feel that it's a good trade-off. We lose a bunch of net income, but in exchange, we drive property owner satisfaction. And going back to the strategic plan again, that's why we have a strategic plan. Because when a decision like that comes up, you go back to the strategic plan and you say, well, is the $150,000 net income more important, or is the property owner satisfaction more important? The idea is property owner satisfaction is more important because that's what we said. So the strategic plan gives you a context to make all these decisions. So that means we will not be closing the clubhouse next year. So you won't see like, oh, well, we can't use the clubhouse in October and no September and whatever because there's always a wedding there. No. Same with the chimneys. No more noise at the chimneys. For those of you who live close to the chimneys, no more noise at the chimneys. We added $43,000 into the budget for entertainment at the clubhouse. So all of those fun activities that we used to do on the veranda and things like that, we're back. And I hate to say this, it all depends on staffing. We're going to do everything we can to get the salaries right, to actively recruit and things like that. But none of us have a crystal ball. There's now an Omicron, we're up to a new Greek alphabet letter. This stuff keeps happening, right? So we don't know, but we've built the head count in. The staffing's there, the money's there. We just need to really try to find the people. So the money's not the issue for sure. And I want to make an introduction because the lady who's joining our team with Bobby Jones' contract ending, that means that the Bobby Jones one staff, which is Robert Sabat, will be leaving. We did a very big search all over the East Coast to find a new amenities director whose real job is everything I just showed you under that thing that says property owner satisfaction. That's what Carrie will be focused on across all the amenities, especially in food and beverage, animating the whole campus. How do you use food and beverage across all the amenities? How do you bring all that to life? We found Carrie in Virginia. She was formerly at the Hermitage up there, and she is here today and moving from Virginia and starting December 13th. So that is Miss Carrie. She also has great experience as like an assistant GM, executive chef, food and beverage manager. In multiple places, you'll be seeing a lot of Carrie. It will be different than it's been. You'll be seeing a lot of Carrie. All right, headwinds facing the budget. That sounds great, Scott. Fantastic. Where do I sign up, right? Headwinds, number one. Transportation costs are skyrocketing. All of our vendors, whether it was the guy who delivers rock or the guy that delivers fertilizer, all of the transportation costs are escalating like crazy. Cost of food is going up, and salt, whether it's rock salt that goes on the roads or whether it's salt that goes in your hamburger, everything is getting more expensive. Labor shortage, I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. Coca-Cola did a big thing over at Chattahoochee Tech. They sponsored this big job fair. 40 different employers, count them, 4 people came to the job fair. 4. We hired one, by the way. We actually got one of the 4. Thank you, Adriana. We got one of the 4. But it's incredible. I mean, that they were doing a pool to decide like how many. I bet 10 people are going to come. I think only 3 are going to come. I mean, it's just terrible. Increasing salaries, obviously, it's a more competitive market. So the people who do want to work are going to pay more to get them. Less competition. So this is really fun. Every time we go to bid something now, we used to say, we're going to get 3 bids. We'd actually probably get 5. We had people, waiting to work. Now you're like begging to get 1 bid. And then when you talk to say, well, you know what, I can't get anybody to bid, so I'll go directly to the subcontractor. Subcontractor says, Anu, I'd like to really bid on that rock wall you're talking about, but I really can't do it because I'm kind of locked up by this general contractor who promised me all this work for the full year. So you really have to work through the GC. So that adds 20% to the cost of the bid. So all of this stuff is hitting us. All of our projects are escalating in cost. And it's just, we just have to do the best we can. It's not like we can sit back and say, well, we're just not going to replace that pipe, we're not going to really worry about that dam anymore. We just have to do the best we can. So all of that was built in. So we took a look at every source of revenue. We looked at all of our costs. We wanted to add the people that we're talking about. We wanted to elevate the property owner experience. And we started with amenity fee increases. So we said, okay, non-property owner increases, they went up an average of 25%. So when people say, hey, I can't get a boat or something, because like some guest has it or whatever, we took non-property owners 25%. Property owner increases, which we really haven't increased amenity fees in 2 years, 5% average increase across all of the amenities. Operating fee increases, and you're like, what's that? Well, those are things like pontoon boat repairs, tree inspections if you want to take a tree down, road impact fees if you're going to build an addition, things like that. Non-property owners went up 5% because quite honestly, it's just transponders for them, and we'd already taken it up the year before, so it went up 5%. Property owner increases 22%. That sounds really scary, but it's really just the road impact fees. So unless you're going to build like a big addition or a brand new house or something like that, you won't even see that. But the road impact fees did go up because, like I said, we've got ditches, culverts, mowing, all that stuff we weren't getting done. We've had to add additional headcount to make those things happen. That is additional costs, so we had to increase the road impact fees. Assessments. Okay, here's the slide. Assessments, $15 a month for operations. That's the first increase since 2019. So in 2019, over there on the right, we went up by 20. Then we had 0, 0, and now 15. So one way I think about that is it would have been better, honestly, and maybe in the future the board will work a little different. It's almost like 5, 5, 5. So $5 a year keeping up with all the things we're talking about. Pretty reasonable to live here. Capital, in 2020, the Finance Committee recommended to the board a $50 capital fee because, again, even then, the board knew we were facing these really big construction projects. We knew we had to start building a capital reserve. We don't want to really get into that $2.8 million. That really is more of the kind of emergency fund. So that's where the 25 came from. The plan at that time, the board said, let's start not at 50, let's start at 25, and then we'll slowly work it up. So we didn't do anything in 2021. We're doing 15 in 2022. So that gets us up to $40 of your assessment will go towards the capital fund. So the total increase is 30. You can see that means if you were paying 306 before, you'll be paying 336 in the future. We benchmarked 1 million communities that don't even have the 88 miles of roads or the Class 1 dam or everything we do. We're still an amazing bargain. We really, really are for what we deliver. So why the capital? And here's why. We looked at this. We modeled this 12 ways to Sunday with the Finance Committee over and over again, with the board, with the treasurer. We looked at this. So basically, why increase it? We had the opportunity as we started to meet with Georgia Safe Dams. We thought we were going to be facing a 4-year construction program of, well, we got to get this permitted and then we'll work on the spillway. And then we got to get this permitted and we got to work on the lower level outlet. In meeting with Georgia Safe Dams, in working with Geosyntec, we've been able to bundle a lot of things together. We can get through the dam project faster, which I want to. I want to get it done and over with and get it behind us. And by doing that, we accelerated 1.25 million and brought it back into 2022 so we can move faster to get that thing taken care of. Wes will be talking a lot more about that in a few minutes. The marina seawall and the Disharin beach extension that I talked about, those are 2 major projects. The seawall around the marina is collapsing, it's falling down. It needs to be fixed. It's not like, oh, we can just ignore it. We can't ignore it. We have to fix it. Same thing with that Disharin Beach canoe launch area. The whole thing is borderline unsafe now. So that added about $1 million of expense to the capital budget. Also, like I said, we've been getting after roads. We're doing a great job for like 8 years on roads. We haven't been doing a great job on our ditches and culverts and our road shoulders. The road shoulders need attention. The culverts need attention. Every time it rains in a big way, especially as you go higher, right? All that stuff flushes out and just goes all over the place, all over the roads. The roads become an obstacle course going up to Sanderland. So that can't be. That's not Big Canoe. We got to fix that. So we added $1 million to look at the culvert and road shoulder repair, and we're going to do that over 2 years. So part of it's this year in 2022, part of it's in 2023. We had a trade-off. We said, look, we can leave the capital assessment where it is, and we can dip into that $2.8 million. We can take a chunk of that, a big chunk of that money if we want to. We can put that 1.25 could come out of there and go to the dam. And we said, is that a smart thing to do? Is that what we really want to do? We've got all these new plans coming. We've got a developer we're thinking through. We got to look at the master plan and stuff. Do you really want to get into that 2.8? And the finance committee, the treasurer, the GM, and then the board all said, I'd feel better to keep the 2.8 alone, keep it where it is, leave it off to the side, kind of like an emergency fund in your house. You know, the financial planners say put 6 months over there and pretend it doesn't exist. That's the way I look at the 2.8. So then that basically said, hey, we've got to go to the capital assessment, which was the original plan when the capital assessment got passed several years ago. It also enables us to start building a reserve, a bigger reserve. So one of the things that the strategic planning survey came back with was fix the post office, so accelerate certain master plan projects, fix the post office, and second of all, do something about the clubhouse. That came up as number 2. Huge amount of wasted space in the clubhouse. It's not really meeting today's needs. We had a plan I showed you in July of what that might look like. So this starts to build capital towards those goals. So that's what that $15 on the capital actually brings. On the operations side, I didn't say that. On the $15, 2/3 of that money on the operating 15 goes right to the employees. It's basically salary adjustments, cost of living, merit increases, strategic, salary adjustments to be able to hire people. So an awful lot of that other $15 makes me sleep better at night is going right to our employees. It's a pass-through. It's not going to, more trees or rock or road salt or whatever. It's going to the people. And that's really, really important. I know Christanzold, they just did a pretty major increase across the board for all of the Pickens County employees. We need to be thinking the same way. So bottom line of all this is we will do in 2022 about $11.7 million in general operating revenue. Operating expenses go up to 7.8. That includes all of the salary adjustments and cost of living and things that I just talked about. Amenity net income versus the forecast will still be positive, but a positive 342. That reflects the loss of like the wedding business. It reflects adding in all the entertainment. It reflects adding in more staffing in the amenities to do all the things in food and beverage that we've been talking about. It's still positive 342. And that nets us out at a net income before depreciation of $4.2 million. When we built the cash flow that I think we took everybody through way back in July or June at a previous board meeting, the assumption is operations should be able to generate $4.2 million of net income every single year. So that was my target that we agreed to with the board, and that's what we worked with the finance committee and multiple meetings to get to that 4.2. So we got to the 4.2. So net income from operations after depreciation is about a little bit over $1 million down from this year, which is just an amazing year. Of course, one is an actual and the other is a budget, so we will do everything we can to make that million go higher, just like we did this year. But that is the budget that was approved by the board. And that's it. So the next thing I want to thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys' support. It means a lot to the staff. It means a lot to all of us. We're moving Big Canoe forward into the next 50 years. And speaking of that, I'm going to introduce to you in person. You saw him on various Zoom things, especially back in February. But someone that I've gotten to know extremely well over the last year plus. This is Wes McDonald from Geosyntec. He drove down from Chattanooga this morning. He is our engineer of record for Lake Pettit Dam, and we thought it would be worthwhile, since it's a big chunk of capital and it's a big thing sitting behind me, to update you on where we are with the dam. Wes.
Thanks, Scott.
And I'll give you this, actually. Sorry about that.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, sure.
I'm going to test it real quick. Make sure. Everybody hear me okay? Is this good? A little closer? How about now? Is that good? Man, even closer. All right. Man, thank you. Thank you for having me, Scott. One clarification. Technically, I'm not the engineer of record, but we have
family.
Other folks in our office who are, and I'm the project director, coordinator here.
They get the credit for
That's
what
true.
you do. Yes.
They get to sign and stamp everything, and I'm been involved here with Big Canoe for the last 8 years. In fact, my second day with Geosyntec, I was up here at Lake Pettit Dam doing one of the inspections. So, still hear me okay? Yeah, it feels like, man.
You can take that out, yeah.
How about this? All right, thank you. Keep flagging me if I take it away. I'm notorious to slowly bring it away. Well, thank you for this opportunity. I wanted to come and just talk about the things we've been doing as a company over the last year, specifically, year and a half really, and talk you through what you have sitting out there. I know a lot of people may not realize what it is. You drive across it at the top or the bottom, and this is another road. But it is a Category 1 dam, Lake Pettit Dam is, which means failure of it could cause loss of life. And so that's permitted through the state of Georgia with the Georgia Safe Dams program. So as a result of that and the size of it, there's a lot of requirements that it needs to meet, and we're here to help them, the POA, Scott and his team, make sure everything's being taken care of, and it is. So what I want to walk you through is just provide a brief history of the dam, and for folks who may not know, it started design and construction in '72, so it's just as old as the community here. It's approaching 50 years. One thing that might make you feel better, it does not have a corrugated metal pipe going through it. So that's the good news. The other one did, but there was some foresight there. And then walk you through what we created probably last December was a long-term plan, just throwing all these things that needed to be done, checks, reports, and analyses, and presented those to Scott and his team. We laid out a schedule, and things obviously are going to fluctuate and change as we go through it, but we're a year in and want to give an update. So real quick, Geosyntec, who we are, we're a consulting and engineering firm. We have about 1,600 people across the world, really, most of them in the U.S., offices in some foreign countries as well. But we have 4 Georgia Safe Dam certified engineers on our staff. 3 of them have been working on this project the last year. They've touched it and helped us. So coordinating with the safe dams is another thing that we've done, and making sure everything is going good there. Our dam clients are typically energy producers, contractors, municipal governments, which kind of falls in here because we're so big, and mining. And our service areas, just a few, are doing the inspections, emergency action plans, risk assessment, and design and permitting of the dams. So real quick, just orienting you to what's there. It is an earthen embankment dam made out of predominantly a clay core and a sandy silt shell. So you're not like most people think of a concrete dam, is it? So it's all earthen embankment. It has a series of, the green dots on the map are piezometers, which monitor the water level that's inside the dam, the seepage going through it, or what level it's at, and if it daylights, it becomes seepage. There's 2 concrete benches there that are intended to collect the water and shed it off the dam as it does come through. The seepage is something that's been noted since the 70s, almost after it was built and filled. And so there are things that have been built out there over time, and we're not continuously, but quarterly monitoring those instruments to look for changes, indications of changes in behavior of the dam. Over to the east of the dam is the main spillway, which is the cascading chute that you may be familiar with. That is not part on the main embankment of the dam. It's in some native soils that are over there, and that is the main way for the reservoir to pass the flow, any kind of storm events, and just typical base flow from the watershed. the watershed is very small. We're at the upper reaches here, obviously at the top of the mountain. And for a dam its size, the watershed is fairly small. So the storm events are kind of unique. Down at the toe of the dam at Wolf Scratch Drive, there's a concrete impact structure where should a low-level outlet ever be used, that's where water would come out from below the reservoir. That's a reinforced concrete pipe that's under the dam. It has a chute or a gate that's at the bottom of the reservoir and to allow water through should it ever be needed. So the spillway does, if I can point or not, does outlet right at Wolf Scratch Drive at the bridge crossing there. So just wanted to orient folks in terms of my terminology and things we may be talking about here. The blue line, sorry, I just popped it up. You can't see that pipe. It's buried at the bottom of the dam, but that's where the low-level outlet is, and the pipe there. So the current status of the dam, the previous stability analyses of the dam indicates it meets the state regulations for steady-state seepage and seismic stability. So that report was done in 1998, and really you're not redoing that every year. It's something that you do. You look, should the dam change in terms of geometry or any kind of features, we would redo that. Right now, there's been no changes, but what we are doing is monitoring the piezometers for that water level through the dam. And so should those change, we're looking at those and comparing them to threshold levels that I'll get into in a minute. That would provide us early warning or things that need to be doing or change work out there, or our inspections. So I mentioned the last year and a half has seen a significant involvement from us. Previously, we mainly did inspections as called on by the owner, but the last year and a half we helped with the long-term plan, and we've done several other things, action items on that long-term plan, and you may not ever see these things, but they are being done. So real quick, a summary of what we did this past year. The state requires the owners to do quarterly inspections, and that does not need to be done by an engineer, but Big Canoe has asked us to do that for them, and so that is very proactive, and we can do a little more detail than most could. So we're looking at it quarterly in terms of visual inspections and also the instrumentation. And as a result, we have found a few things that are being worked upon. Specifically, we found an area of seepage that seems that has progressed slightly and has a little more flow. So we've designed a repair for that, and that repair is the design is completed, and the repair is about to be begun here in early 2022. We've also come up with a design to replace and repair the riprap that's presently there. So it'll be bulking that up a little more, just in preparation should there ever be a large storm event. As a result of both of those, for the riprap replacement, we need to really draw the lake down a little to get that in properly. So we've come up with a plan to lower the reservoir slightly, about 3 feet, and that plan, and we're working all these together, like Scott said, trying to be efficient, try to do as much as we can at one time instead of doing them piecemeal. So we're getting ready to start that plan and these repairs in early 2022. As a part of that drawdown, we'll also be inspecting the concrete chute spillway. It's continuously flowing, so it's very hard to fully inspect it, obviously. So once this water is pulled down 3 feet, we'll be bypassing the chute and still passing water down to the creek below, and it'll still flow through the sconty. But we'll be doing an inspection there, and we know a few spots already that need repair, just maintenance repairs of the spillway. So we'll also be, if we identify any other areas during that inspection, addressing those. I mentioned the piezometers and warning levels. So we completed, this didn't exist before. We were just looking for overall changes, but we completed a threshold analysis to identify action and threshold levels, 2 different levels that may require action. Whether it be more inspections or more instrumentation reading or some type of intervention. So those have been established in a written report for us to compare readings in the field against to understand really how it's performing and is there any concern. The operation plan and maintenance plan was also created this year. It was really a formal pulling together of all the documentation that the owner needs to have. It's a car owner's manual, essentially. So you know how often to inspect things. So you know what features what this pipe is, what that chute does. So as leadership or the person whose role this is changes, they have one consistent thing to go to, and it really is not required. It should be in the future if any permits are changed, but it's something we're doing proactively to just make sure there's consistency and the dam is being taken care of. Also, as part of the emergency action plan revisions, I mentioned it's a Category 1 dam, which means there's potential loss of life downstream. A mapping exercise was done. The state required a new software to run the model as opposed to what was previously done. There's always been an emergency action plan. Well, not always. Since at least 2002, there's been an emergency action plan. That old mapping was out of date, so we updated that this year. We brought that mapping into the emergency action plan and totally revised it. That's all been submitted to the state. So that would be implemented should any condition change, and Big Canoe would need to notify us, and we coordinate with emergency management of the county to do any evacuations should they be needed downstream, so they know where to go, so they know who to go evacuate first. So that's been submitted, and we're just waiting on any feedback from Safe Dams on that. And then also in 2021, we've begun looking, as a result of the H&H study that we completed, which really, there was no documentation of being done before. It was probably done during design of the original dam, but there was no records. That's another thing that's unique about this dam is we're still piecing some knowledge together, and if we don't have it, we're creating a study to understand it better. So the H&H study, which is a hydrologic and hydraulic evaluation, really tells us for the size of the dam and the storm that's required, where the water will go. And what we wanted to make sure is the dam wouldn't overtop, and we confirmed that. The dam will not overtop in the design storm. The design storm is very large, and some people say, oh, that'll never happen, but that's what you want your dam designed to handle, right? The thing that will never happen, because it will one day. South Carolina had storms 5 years ago that were in the 20 to 25 inch range. Houston has had storms in the last 5 years from one of the hurricanes that had 60 inches of rain in one day. So these things are possible, and there's a reason they're required by the state to be sized to this event. So as a result, this H&H study really helped us inform what may need to be done for the dam in handling this. And one result of that is the spillway needs to be updated. And presently, we are working on, or wrapping up the alternatives analysis to look at what type of spillway we need to upgrade it to. And what we're trying to do there is, again, trying to be efficient here, also update that to be a low-level outlet as well to replace the one that's presently there. So it will be able to handle the storm event, but the idea of the low-level outlet is to also be able to lower the reservoir should there be any sunny day, be able to lower the reservoir for just an emergency concern in terms of stability of the dam should it ever happen. And that's a requirement of safe dams as well. It has to be able to draw down the reservoir by 2/3 of the volume in 10 days. So that's a state requirement that you're able to do that, and we are working on these designs to make sure we can handle both this large storm event and this sunny day event that we would need to draw the lake down. And so we met with Safe Dams. In fact, we had a meeting this week with them, and they were in general accordance with our path forward. And so this was our pre-design meeting with them. And so where it will proceed from here is to a little more conceptual design, understanding all the inputs in terms of, we'll probably need to come back and check some volumes of the lake, because things like that will determine what elevations we build things to, essentially where we install this replacement at. And then we'll proceed to a more formal detailed design in 2022. So upcoming in 2022, the initial step early in the year will be these maintenance repairs, which will require the lake to be drawn down about 3 feet. And while that's down, we'll replace the riprap. We'll maintain, inspect, and do maintenance repairs on the spillway. And then we'll also put in the seepage repair on the left abutment at the face of the dam. So we're currently working with contractors to get that lined up, and I'm sure there'll be communication from the POA when that is to start, and probably can expect some equipment around those areas, both the upstream and downstream. And thank you guys, I see ya. It's drifting. And as I mentioned in the beginning, and while this repairs are going on, we'll take it through the detailed design as well, which will have to go to the state. There'll be a couple rounds of review probably before we get a permit, and then the dam will be permitted for that construction and modification, which may start in late 2022. We don't know yet. Obviously, lots of things can change with design and contracting and the state's review, but it may be into 2023 when that larger repair happens. So overall, the dam currently meets the steady state seepage and seismic requirements of the state. We're monitoring the water levels in it to look for changes. Big Canoe is, I might have said this, but just to echo, my involvement in the last year and a half has been way more than it was previously in regards to this dam. And I think it's just an indication of how proactive they're being, this aging infrastructure, and being aware of this item that needs to be taken care of, as it's a core focus of the community. Affects a lot of things. So the long-term plan's being acted on. You know, a lot of these are things happening behind the scenes you may not see, but the construction will be coming, and appreciate everyone's patience when that does start, and we'll make sure we're communicating and keeping folks involved with Scott on that. So that's all I have. Thank you. Okay.
And I just want to thank Wes. So, you know, the first phone call I made after Debbie came running into my office with a cell phone with this horrific, I've never seen this look on Debbie's face before when Disharins happened. I now remember what that look is, and don't want to see it again, actually. But Wes actually basically moved his family here. He spent spring break that was supposed to be with his kids. He was out here in muck up to about his waist, trying to figure out how we get out of the Disharins situation. So Geosyntec has been an amazing partner, and we are very grateful to everything you did. So I think the next thing, I don't know why you get the sweet little bird there, but you do, is Dr. Crouch.
Well, before Bob makes his closing comments, I'd like to express the recognition of Bob for his service to the board and the community, totaling nearly 8 years and spanning 2 decades. And then importantly, recognizing his spouse Carmen's support during all these periods. Bob's commitment to the board began in 2005 as a member and then as president from 2006 to 2008, which is, as you know, a critical period for our community, as 2005 and 2006 was the transition phase for the Property Owners Association. And this was when Big Canoe Company, the developer, transferred the operating day-to-day rights of the community to the Property Owners Association, and the property owners' representation on the board increased to 6 of 7 members. Bob served on the board from 2005 to 2010, and as I said earlier, as president from 2006 to 2008. And I'd just like to go over some of the critical issues his board faced from 2005 to 2010. It included negotiating an insurance settlement for the clubhouse after it had burned, increasing the settlement from some $1.8 to almost $4 million, leading the board in rebuilding the clubhouse. He also initiated the first property owners satisfaction survey, and he served on the Internet Task Force for 4 years, which led to the installation of high-speed cable fiber. Bob was also the first leadership, he was also on the first Leadership Big Canoe board, and as HOA president for 3 years. Once it was disbanded, various programs were moved to what became part of the Wellness Collaborative several years later. And then in 2020, Bob's commitment to the board was called upon again at a critical period for Big Canoe. A group of friends, including several past presidents, or past board of directors rather, who had served with Bob, had asked him to run again for the 2019-20 board. With Carmen's support, Bob ran and was elected and voted by the 2020 board to serve as president. His steady leadership made him the right person at the right time. And while Bob chose not to be president in 2021, his experience and insight continued to be valuable to the board and the community with managing a number of issues and events over the 2021 periods, thoughtfully and pragmatically, from the role of Bobby Jones Links to our management of COVID to the important passage of the capital contribution fee. So please join me in saluting Bob for his exemplary service to Big Canoe and his closing comments.
Good morning, everyone. As I reflect on my years of service to Big Canoe, I thought of all the people I need to thank, and I'm going to pass on that because I know I'll miss so many. My thanks will go only to Carmen, my wife, for the support that she provided through the 20 years mostly spent in service to Big Canoe. I come away with one rock solid belief after my years of service, and that is we live in a special, wonderful community. One of the things that makes that a special, wonderful community is the property owners. We are all members of the POA. We also have employees that are important. I have dealt with scores of employees, from general managers to every level in the organization, and come away with the unshakable belief that they are completely dedicated to the well-being of all of the property owners of Big Canoe. Whether or not we're taking a pontoon boat for a ride on Lake Pettit, playing golf, tennis, pickleball, bocce ball, there are numerous employees that make that experience alive and well for us. If we look around our community, we see that we're living in harmony with nature, and that's because the architectural standards are being enforced by someone that we probably don't ever see. And we sleep in peace at night, knowing that fire protection and medical aid is close at hand if needed. The employees of Big Canoe are vital, and also the property owners who volunteer in Big Canoe are absolutely crucial. We have people that look through our finances in great detail and make recommendations to the staff and to the board about the decisions, the crucial decisions we're going to be making about our finances. We have people that are maintaining and adding trails so that we can hike and enjoy that experience on a daily basis. And we have people that are planning enjoyable events. The calendar that Scott just went through for December is chock full of what 2022 is going to be, the year of the property owner enjoyment. And that's what we're focused everything on. When I mention the POA, it is the base, the foundation, the unshakable foundation of a good experience in Big Canoe. But I'd be remiss to stop there, because there are other crucial organizations that we all rely upon. The chapel. The chapel provides services on Sundays, provides other services that are not as well known throughout the week to people that need it. Big Canoe Animal Rescue provides a place for our four-legged friends, which is crucial to a whole lot of us in Big Canoe. The Wellness Collaborative, if people are in need of medical assistance to drive to pick up prescriptions, Meals on Wheels, immunizations that are scheduled is another important thing. Leadership Big Canoe, an organization that really bases the foundation of Big Canoe and makes it alive for those people that have been in attendance of that for nearly 20 years. And Smoke Signals, a communications device. I'm just mentioning some of those organizations that are above the POA that make our life enjoyable here in Big Canoe. One last comment. I was at the trash facility on Tuesday, and a property owner who I've known not well, but know and respect for probably 20 years came up to me and thanked me for my leadership. That meant a lot to me. It really meant a lot. It's not why we do the job. It's not why any of us do, but it feels good. And I would ask all of us to think of the people that you come in contact with today and in the future, employees, property owners who volunteer, and take a minute and thank them for what they've done. Big Canoe is outstanding. It's not perfect. We do have a process in place where if you have something that you see that is not right, come up with a solution. Be part of the solution and report that, and we'll get one little chink done. So the message that I'm leaving with is just very simple. We have an excellent place to live and community, and we can all do our parts to improve upon that. And I thank everyone for their support and say sayonara.
The final slide here. Before we close out the meeting and open it up for questions, I understand Steve Gooch is here, a state representative, and if he's still here, I'd like to say hello to him. He's standing with the wings back here. Thank you for coming. Okay, with that, I would like to adjourn the meeting and open it up for questions.
Take the mics around.
Hello?
Yes. By the way, this is the Q&A period. That little guy down there, his name is Scott. It's a coincidence. It's purely a coincidence. So this is a no talent zone, and we will answer anything you got, if we can.
Ray Duncan, 889 Ridgeview Drive. Been here 26 years. Several years ago, the POA had an agenda to improve the traffic flow at the main gate. I haven't heard anything about that in a long time, but as we're improving all these other improvements, when people come in, particularly on weekends and holidays, there's a backlog there, and owners can't get in and without going all the way around to the north gate. This is not a problem for people that normally enter through the north gate, but for those of us who enter on this side normally, it just does make a big problem. And I just would like to open this up for possible inclusion in one of your future projects.
It's been talked about before. There was a thought at one point when I got here about widening the main gate, and the board at that time looked at the idea and said, we think that really messes up the character of Big Canoe, because that gate is so charming. That's still my favorite building here, I think, is that little gatehouse. It does get heavy on some weekends. At the moment, the stance has been, well, it's really not worth, creating more construction and changing the character of that area for the number of weekends and the number of hours a week that would be affected. The only other option, honestly, is to divert, all guests and everything to the main gate. Or the north gate, I'm sorry. There's obviously issues with that because they're going to come to the main gate and then they're going to be trapped in the line, and then the gate's going to say, no, you got to go out to the other one. Duly noted. I don't have an easy answer for you. If I had an easy answer, I probably would have done it by now, but duly noted. We'll add that to our list for the team to take a look at, because it does get a little crazy on Friday afternoons. I agree.
Good morning, Tom Durbin, 39 Scotty Knoll. More of a curiosity question. I assume and maybe it's more of a Wes question, when we're looking at options to replace the lower spillway, I assume maybe the lower spillway would be abandoned and another approach would be taken. Can you speak now to some of those options, or is that a later date thing?
There's 4 solutions that Geosyntec laid out for dealing with the storm event, the maximum storm event, which Wes didn't say, by the way, but it's about 31 inches of rain in 6 hours is our maximum storm event that we have to design to. So what we asked Wes to do is, out of those 4 solutions, 2 of them dealt with the spillway only. 2 of them deal with both systems. So like he said, the sunny day draining of the reservoir or the 31 inches in 6 hours. We're focusing on the 2 that basically take care of both of those problems, if you will, or both of those requirements from Georgia Safe Dams. So when we construct something, it will deal with the maximum rainfall. It will also deal with the ability to lower the level. What he didn't mention is we have a lower level outlet. It does open. It looks like it's okay. It hasn't been opened in 50 years. Georgia Safe Dams was fine with us not opening it. So they basically recommended early on that, hey, it's there if in an absolute, emergency or something, but we would not recommend that you now start to try to open a metal gate that hasn't been opened in 50 years. So we're designing a new solution for it. So the solution will fix both problems.
Nan Horadam, 34 Yenago Path. My question is about the cul-de-sacs. Are you going to be not only clearing them out, but will they also be putting, I guess they call it the large river rocks in around them?
So the cul-de-sacs is an interesting long question too, kind of like the main gate. So the cul-de-sacs the developer often built neat cul-de-sacs and landscaped them beautifully. And when they were turned over to the POA basically said, as part of that, we are not actively landscaping those areas. So as a result, it's leaf litter that kind of fills them and more the natural look and things like that. In the past, some people have said, hey, could you help our area? We're willing to even throw pine straw. Matthew will run out some trucks and stuff to kind of help with that. So the landscaping of the cul-de-sacs is really the neighborhood responsibility, not the POA. It's one of the things we had on our list, honestly, to think about, do we change that? Do we address that in the future? We just couldn't afford it this year because we actually calculated the number of cul-de-sacs, because you can't just do it in one place, have to kind of make it a policy, and it was pretty big number, and we just have so many other priorities. If it's an issue though where the drainage around the cul-de-sacs, right now we're concentrating more on clearing and getting the leaves and stuff out of there. If we find erosion and stuff, then we would come back and do something to mitigate that too. We're not just going to clean it and leave it. So a little bit of yes and no on that answer. That helps.
Ann Hallam, 2145 and 2146. I just wanted to comment, thank you. The most important thing you said today, I think, is that if we hurt the natural beauty of Big Canoe, we shoot ourselves in the foot. So I appreciate what you just said, for instance, on not changing the main entrance. I agree with you that the trees are priority. I think the natural beauty is priority. So, and I hope that the new conservation officer is not just window dressing, but that he will have a lot of authority in these decisions to save the tree canopy. That's the natural beauty. So, thank you.
Thank you. We agree. 100%.
Should I give it to this guy? My dear friend, Bill Shaw. God, you're a lot bigger up close. Bill Shaw, 404. I want to direct this probably more so at the board. I think one of the things that I was not disappointed in, it was more a reformation, and that was Amy's slide about the response on the bylaws. It wasn't a surprise, but to me, I think that shows it's a big red flag that people are just not involved. They're not educated about what some of the items are, and I think we've got to become more educated. I think, and I think probably from some of the people from the county and the city, I've worked in and around state and local. There are things called Sunshine Acts, and just about every state I've been in has Sunshine Acts, and Georgia is one of them. Primarily, one part of the act is on information and your path information, and the other part is meetings. And if you go to the state site and look, and you can find what the state defines as open meetings and closed meetings. I'm sorry, I feel we're a closed community. There are many, many meetings that are held by committee that definitely impact our lives. And those should be open meetings. They should be posted. There should be time, place, and I think most of all, there should be an agenda. And I think that if I will look at anything the next year or so, it'll be if we're educated more, and if we're going to more of these open meetings, and getting a good education, finding out who runs these meetings, what they're for, what they're not for. That's the way government works. And I think that we're missing out on a great part of that by not being able to have access to the meetings. In closing, I would like to ask you for one thing. Dorothy and I are from Southeast Michigan, and as you may have heard, there's been a real tragedy up there, and we've been in close contact with our friends, family, neighbors. If you got a fleeting minute today, tonight, 17 years old is too early to die. And if you've got maybe a little something you can ask the guy up above, please ask for, especially the kids that have died, but their families and their friends. This is the first time we've been in close to something like this, and it's horrible. So if you could think of them for a minute, thank you. Thank you, Bill.
Just a couple of comments I want to make. First, about the bylaws. I spoke at 4 meetings. Is this working, guys?
Yep.
Can you hear me? Okay. I spoke at 4 meetings, 4 board meetings. I spoke in 2 live sessions. We did innumerable emails, smoke signals, et cetera. We really attempted to educate our property owners, in our opinion. You do have to try. I've also answered a lot of questions on Ask the POA, and everybody knows my phone number, and I hear from lots of you. So don't stop doing that. We'll probably talk. We'll probably even start right after this meeting talking about if we're going to do live board meetings next year, but we will get to that. The other thing I want to say is we are not a governmental authority. We follow nonprofit law of Georgia, and we follow it explicitly as well as our bylaws. So I can understand that people that, particularly from other states where sunshine laws may apply to HOAs, that is not the case in Georgia, and we're doing exactly what we need to be doing. That said, we like to communicate with you all. I prefer speaking like this than doing it in another manner. So, look for some positive changes there, but we're not hiding things. And we have all of our committees are thoroughly vetted and confirmed by the board, the members and the chair, and they all have minutes that are posted on the website for everyone to see every month. So that's it. We're doing what we need to be doing.
Joanne Goodrow, I'm 2906. I would just like to say that I think probably part of our problem is that we've lost so many of our Big Canoe residents that have been here for years, who were very invested in everything that goes on here. Bob Crouch has been here for years. I've been here for years. So many of the people that we know that would have been in here today and that would have answered our survey are not here any longer. We have new people who have replaced them, but they don't really understand what we're doing here and what we're about. We need to reach out to those new people.
Got one in the back, yeah.
One back here, Amy. Mike Ehrlich, 3554. Can you bring us up to date on the Amazon fiasco? Sometimes it's delivered to my house, sometimes it's the porch. And if we're going to do it all at the porch, I hope to God Amazon's paying us.
Yeah.
I feel like if we're doing that for free at the porch,
Yeah.
we need to have the Amazon pay us.
So let's start with the purpose of the porch originally was to deal with a USPS problem where they could not guarantee staffing hours for their folks. So I heard over and over again, I went to the post office, I tried to pick up my package, the postal people had already left, I've got to come back the next day. There was no room because the postal building is ancient. There was no room for the volume of packages that were coming just through the post office. Stuff was spilling over the docks, etc. So I went with Michael Jordan, who's the postmaster. We came up with this idea for the package porch, and like I said, 400 packages a day. I don't know where those would be going right now. If we didn't have the package porch, I think it would be just like spilled out in the middle of the roadway. Amazon is a whole different ballgame. So Amazon built a hub in Alpharetta. Amazon contracts their drivers. Those contracted drivers started coming up here, never having been probably outside of Alpharetta in their lives. Came up here, started to navigate our roads, went home and said, not me, I'm not going to do it, and there's no possible way. So then somebody, I think a property owner, mentioned to them, oh, you could go to the package port. So then they're like, perfect solution. We can just come right in the gate, turn around, drop everything on poor Priscilla over there. She'll figure it out, and I'm out. So the outcry from the property owners was pretty high that that's not good enough because we're Amazon Prime, et cetera, et cetera. So we have reached out to everybody's name that we could possibly find, and what we've learned is Amazon is a monolith. Everything, nobody is face-to-face. Everything's email. You get one email from Seattle, the next one's from Alpharetta. You can't ever have, you have a live conversation with somebody and the next day it's a whole different person. So as far as we can tell, somehow they're allowing their contracted drivers to now just go to the post office. So they're taking all of our stuff over to the postmaster, dumping it in Jasper. It all comes right back to us, and we get right back into the same problem that we were trying to avoid with some of the stuff going up the hill to the post office and a lot of it coming down to the package porch. I don't know how to fix that. If anybody here knows anybody that's high enough in Amazon or has a neighbor, because everybody in Big Canoe, it's great. Everybody has a great contact somewhere. If you guys know somebody who actually has some clout, please let me know, because I'm striking out. And everything's going right back to the postmaster, who, unfortunately, the Postal Service, as we all know, has some issues, and they're involved with unions and things, and so we can't even get all the postal packages to be delivered to the package porch, which is why some of it still goes up the hill and some of it still comes down. So it's a real fiasco, and they're not going to deliver to our houses. It's pretty darn clear to me that's not going to happen. So, despite our best efforts, that's kind of where we are. But I'll take any help anybody's got. I honestly will.
Jim Billmeyer, 2796. I leave here today thankful and excited. Thankful for what has been accomplished these last 2 years between COVID, dams, and major reorganization of management. More excited when I look forward to what can be accomplished with our new plan, adequate funding that has now been made available, strong leadership, and great management. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
My name is Mike Permenter, and I live in Choctaw Village. I'm going to lead into 2 dam questions. In my former life, I was involved with the Chesapeake Bay program, and they had a simulation of an oil spill. Mm-hmm. And from that simulation, they found out that they had a lot of communication issues. So the 2 dam questions I have is, first, when is the emergency action plan going to be available to the public? And then second, is there any plans to simulate some kind of an emergency evacuation?
Yep.
Thank you.
So, great question. So the EAP is with Georgia Safe Dams right now. It was submitted right before Thanksgiving. They're a little backed up. They're a governmental agency who's a little short on staff. So they are reviewing it. As soon as it's approved, then we'll have it up on the website so people can take a look at it. Chris Denzel and I were talking 2 weeks ago. They have a new emergency management director over at Pickens County. Pickens County has the jurisdiction of managing any evacuation or emergency response for Pettit Dam. We're setting up a tabletop exercise sometime in first quarter, and we will test exactly what you said, Mike. Make sure all the communications work. Do we have the databases? Does everybody know who calls who and all of that kind of stuff? So Ricky Jordan is working on that. So coming.
Margot Vallone, 2582. I just have a question about Tim Moran. In assuming a board position now, does that mean that he no longer will be our wonderful
Tim, it does.
marketing and publications?
Tim handed in his resignation yesterday afternoon. He is no longer a member of the POA staff, although we know where to find him, so that's good. So, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Going.
One back.
Oop, one
more. Meg Rooney, lot 2066. One quick comment is maybe during Christmas, if the package porch could be open a little bit later for those of us who are working and can't get to it by 6 p.m., that might be helpful and might help them rid backlog as well. But Amy, you said all the committee minutes are on the website. Is agricultural and control, not agricultural, but architectural control, are they on the website?
No, they have, there's a lot of information is put in the admin report every month, if you have noticed that. Of course, we redact names of people, but if you are a neighbor, you can read their charter and see all those. If you're a neighbor, you have every right to ask for the information, but again, it's going to be redacted for names and lot numbers because we don't want to pit people against each other. Did I state that correctly? Okay.
Anything else? Going once, twice? Have a fantastic, wonderful holiday. Thank you. Thank you, guys.